Okay, hello everyone. This is Lisa Philp. I'm Vice President for Strategic Philanthropy at the Foundation Center. Delighted to have you here with me for this live webinar. We are recording it and we'll store it on the Foundation Maps web pages so others can listen to it at their leisure afterwards. The lines are muted, but there is a question chat box where you can type questions. So feel free to type anything in along the way. I have my colleague Elizabeth Mendez here with me, and she'll flag if there's any clarifying, any clarification I need to do along the way. If you're having issues you can't hear or there's something going on, again, type in the chat box to let us know. But otherwise, the plan for today is to give you a little bit of a overview of the functionality of Foundation Maps, so we're kind of all starting on the same page, and then we really want to spend some time on advanced use cases, because if you're a funder, or if you're a consultant, or if you're a nonprofit organization, there's lots of really interesting ways to use this tool to help you with your work. So with that, again, what we're talking about today is Foundation Maps, which is a pretty new data visualization platform created by the Foundation Center. And we're going to focus on Foundation Maps Professional 2.0, which is a subscription service of Foundation Center that, again, has lots of great information, really answers a fundamental question that we hear from so many people of, you know, the evergreen question, who is funding what and where around the world? So before I dive in, I think, you know, many of you know the Foundation Center. We've been around over 50 years, really got started with a transparency mission around helping the world understand what philanthropy is all about. And our mission is to strengthen the social sector by advancing knowledge about philanthropy in the U.S. and around the world. And we have this vision about how people can use data and you know, understand philanthropy better. And so tools like Foundation Maps really fit into what we're really trying to do. So with that, let me jump right in. I'm going to transition over to Foundation Maps. So hopefully some of you who are on this webinar now have already played around a little bit. We have a free trial offer that's a standing you know, opportunity for anybody to give this a spin. So, so if you haven't tried the free trial, you can do it afterwards, but maybe some of you have played around a little bit and are here, you know, for a little bit more information. So let's get our bearings a little bit around this. So this is the default view of Foundation Maps Professional 2.0. And what you're looking at is the map view, and we're looking at grants by recipients. So these are the nonprofits that are receiving funding from foundations and other kinds of grant makers. And the data set in this platform today you can see on those summary boxes. So it's a whole lot of information. It's you know, over 3.5 million grants. It's almost $240 billion, over 38,000 funders, over 366,000 recipients. And we refresh the data every week. So if you've tested, if you were a beta tester or you were somebody who helped us really develop this platform over the past few months, you might want to check it out again because, again, we're adding information all the time. So what I want everybody to understand from this view is what this is saying is we're looking at funding that, again, is this kind of recipient view. So let's kind of break it down a little bit so we can kind of see what's going on. I picked different states, so let's do sunny Florida today. So, okay. So that big universe of the full data set now has gotten narrowed down to a look at Florida. And what this is saying is that there are 6,510 foundations located anywhere in Florida, in the rest of the United States, somewhere else in the world, who gave something to 8,825 recipients who are located in the state of Florida, okay? So just want you to kind of get a sense of that. These bubbles also have summary information. So these bubbles each represent a county in Florida. So the little summary box pops up again. And what this is saying here is if we really just cared about Sarasota County, Florida, then what this is saying is 476 funders, again, located anywhere, gave to 630 recipients who are located in Sarasota County. Okay, this is important because then we can also do a foundations view. So the numbers are going to change pretty dramatically. So what this is saying now is that there are nearly 2,000 funders located in Florida. Again, each of these bubbles are a county, so these are funders in Florida who gave to recipients located anywhere. So they gave these 21,446 recipients are located in Florida, some of them are elsewhere in the United States, and some are, could be around the world. So again, you've got this kind of flexibility of the view. And then if we look at area served, which is the newest functionality, what you're seeing here, this is the scenario where, let's say that a funder located anywhere gave to, a Washington, D.C. based think tank. So in that recipient's view that we were looking at earlier, the map would show the grant in Washington, D.C. if it was, a D.C.-based think tank. But if we have information that says that this was for a Florida education policy study, then geographic area served allows us to show where the grant is meant to provide services. So this is, again, looking at Florida, looking at the breakdown, and the shading here by county is showing the darker the county, the more funding is going to serve that area. So I'm spending some time on this because I think it's pretty important. I'll do one more quick example just to kind of drive the point home. Let's say that you care about India, for example. So again, this will have kind of a dramatic change of story. So just, want to make clear here. So again, this is saying what we have in terms of the data now is 228 funders, again, located anywhere, that gave to 1,932 recipients located in India. Let's pay attention for a second to these numbers. It's about 5,000 grants, about $1 billion. Let me jump to the area served for a second. So again, 5,000, $1 billion. Now it's over 7,000 and 2.7 billion. And what this is saying is because we have information about international non-governmental organizations based in, say, Atlanta, Georgia, or Geneva, Switzerland, that are located somewhere else but do projects in India, we're now able to track what's going on in India in a better, more helpful kind of way. And then again, what this is saying here when we look at the foundations view is, we've got room to grow in terms of non-U.S. foundation data collection. So at this point, we only have 3 foundations located in India that give to anywhere. So just be thinking about this as you play around, because these summary boxes, again, are giving you information, but it's not that you need to look at the view by foundations if you're looking at, if you want to analyze that. You really want to kind of take a sense of, what's your question? Are you interested in organizations that are located in that region, where the grants are serving that region, or where the foundations are located in that region? Okay, a little bit more about navigation type things before we kind of jump into case studies and so on. So let's just go back to recipients for a second. So again, here's the universe, here's the world. We showed that you can type in location. You can also, with a mouse, just kind of scroll on in. Basically, I'm zooming with a mouse here. If I was on an iPad, I'd be doing a touch screen, and the bubbles start to break up as I zoom in. So you've got a couple ways of navigating from typing in a location to zooming in. From a subject area standpoint, again, this has an autofill, so I care about education, right? Wonderful. So education pops up. But let's say I actually care about arts too. I'm kind of a magnanimous funder. I kind of care about environment as well. So basically, this is auto-completing for me and showing the additive of in the world, education or arts and culture or environment grads are going on here. Want to jump to a left navigation thing for a second. So basically, is there a question?
Yeah, there's a question. Can you explain further how the area served is determined through the grants data? Relatedly, how complete is that information?
Okay, great question. Let's go back to area served. Let's go back to the map. This was kind of a breakthrough for us when we were doing area served. We did a lot of user experience testing with lots of different audiences as we were developing foundation maps, and what we kept hearing was, love it that we can have recipient location. That's totally important, and but gosh, there's grants that that we know are designated for other purposes beyond where the headquarters location of the recipient. So what we've done here is the way that we get at it is through grant descriptions. So if we have a grant description that says, this is for a project in India and Pakistan, then we're able to assign that grant in the area served piece. If we have no information, if it's silent in the grant description, then our default is that the area served is the recipient location. So it's additive information. When you see area served, it's doing a combination of the recipient piece, and then when we have good information, we add that in. Okay, hopefully that helps. Okay, so just again, kind of just easy ways to sort of clear all is you can clear all right there or do the little X boxes and so on. So what I was showing in terms of subject area, what I was originally doing was actually typing in and having it auto-complete for me in terms of the subject area. But what you should also know is that there's a whole taxonomy in here that's multi-level. So let's say that I not just care about arts and culture broadly, but that I'm really actually somebody who cares more about performing arts. And in fact, you know what? I'm really all about ballet, let's just say. So basically that in 3 clicks allowed me to narrow the set down to who's supporting ballet around the world, again, kind of from that standpoint. So you've got some flexibility in the subject area piece. Okay. Just again, a little thing so you know when you're playing around on your own that you've got the ability to filter in other different kinds of ways. So more filters allows you to screen, again, anytime you see a little reverse triangle here, you've got the ability to click and drill into different kinds of coding. So there's population served, there's different types of supports or funding strategies. Everybody Googles themselves, right? So you can type in your own organization name, your grantees, your peers, yourself. The data set includes 2006 going forward. It's most complete from a 2006 to 2012 standpoint. We're doing a whole lot of indexing right now around 2013, and we have a whole slew of foundations that electronically report to the Foundation Center. So in those cases, we have 2014, 2015, possibly even 2016 fiscal year information. Ways to sort also by grant maker type, keyword, and so on. And then there's this whole kind of left navigation as well. So that's probably enough grounding to get us going. Again, type in questions, clarifying questions or anything as they come in. I'm going to X out of ballet just to kind of go back to the world for a second. One thing I do want to mention is at the moment it's kind of buried. Oh, sorry, not in about. It's actually buried in frequently asked questions at the top of the application itself. We do have these facts. If you scroll down a little bit on this one that kind of goes on, there's a hyperlink to guided tour videos, and there's also a hyperlink to a printable guide, how-to guide. It's about 20 pages. It's got a lot of pretty pictures. Again, when you do the free trial or if you sign up for a subscription, know that it's there because it can really kind of help you with just some basic stuff. We tried to make this as easy as possible to navigate, but there's some useful tools right there. There's on the landing page itself of Foundation Maps. Again, don't forget this top navigation, which has a lot of good information, including additional frequently asked questions, video tours, and so on and so forth. Okay, great. So So again, back in the application itself, let's do some use cases. So before I joined the Foundation Center about 4 years ago, I was a grant maker. I was a program officer and head of a bunch of different foundations. I was a consultant to lots of different funders, and I served on the board, so I was a grant seeker in many ways as well. So I'm going to kind of channel my past around ways to use foundation maps from those different scenarios. So, so one of the foundations that I used to work on was actually called the Booth Ferris Foundation. So I'm going to go to the More Filters, and again, you know, human nature is you want to look yourself up. So I'm going to look up Booth Ferris. I'm going to click there. I'm going to click anywhere out here. And so what this is telling me is that this database has 639 grants, again, $72 million from the Booth Ferris Foundation, 392. So let's take a look at the list view. So again, I just searched for this one foundation, so that's the story here. If I click here, shows that we've got a little bit of information about Booth Ferris. We've got a list of grants. And then this is kind of interesting. Because we apply, Foundation Center applies a taxonomy to every organization in this data set, we've visualized it in this kind of circular bar chart that we call subjects. So for any organization in here, let's say that you weren't Googling yourself and you're looking at a nonprofit or a funder that you're not aware of, and you want a quick visual snapshot of what they fund, you've got this really interesting way to take a look at that. Here's the recipient list for the Booth Ferris Foundation. Again, the default is by largest grant that we have in the data set. Sorry, largest number of grants here. This is cumulative of this. Here's grants, and again, it's kind of going the largest grants that we have. There's all sorts of ways you can sort any of these things, so older data to 2014 in the case of the Booth Ferris Foundation. Okay. So great. So, one of the things that Booth Ferris did, or, does basically, I'm going to look at United States here to kind of give a little view. Okay. So what this is showing here, just visually again, recipient view, is that a whole lot of Booth Ferris's funding actually went to the state of New York because quite a lot of it was local. But these bubbles, I happen to know, are actually liberal arts colleges around the country, because one of the strategies for Booth Ferris was higher education and providing capital support for them. So, one interesting thing to do when I was trying to get a grounding on this field, so I could basically go into type of support and say, I want to know who else is doing capital campaigns. I'm going to click there. And then I actually care about higher education, right? Helps to type. Okay. So what I now have a snapshot coming up here of the universe of higher education grants and capital campaigns. And so again, I know who I know, right? But this is basically giving me this broad universe of many more funders, many more recipients, sorry, and the ability to take a look at the list view here. So this is basically telling me that these are the largest funders of higher education capital campaigns. These are the most major recipients. These are the biggest grants that we have. And, I think what's interesting is when I was working at Booth Ferris on this, we often wanted to support smaller liberal arts colleges that weren't necessarily getting all the funding. So a tool like this allows me to reverse sort. So rather than the default, which was the largest dollar value of grants, this is saying in this data set, we've got, some colleges that have only received about $1,000 in capital support, again, from the data that we're collecting. Maybe I want to take a closer look at Newberry College or Tiffin University or one of these ones that maybe isn't attracting a lot of the support, and use the tool to kind of find out opportunities in that way. again, this is kind of a way that foundations have used this. They also take a look at different grant recipients that they have and take a look to see, what's the story on who is actually funding, who else is funding these organizations. Okay, so that's kind of one use case in terms of a foundation. Another one, let's kind of shift gears for a little bit to kind of put a consulting hat on. And a lot of the consulting questions that come up tend to be landscape scan kinds of questions. So when I was working with a number of family foundations and emerging philanthropists, questions would come up like, we know about a certain number of, say, charter schools in New Orleans. So let's just narrow the map down to New Orleans. And let's take a look at areas served in New Orleans, just to be even a little bit more precise. And again, somebody interested in education reform, looking at charter schools. So just as interesting to note, so again, I just put in charter schools. What this is showing me is that there's a multi-level taxonomy, that education, elementary, secondary, charter schools, I'm getting to the same place, but this is kind of showing me the logic pattern of the subject area. So again, I'm going to click here. So what this is telling us is that there's 74 funders, again, located, we're in area served, located anywhere in the world, 2 organizations, again, located anywhere where we have information that the grant is for, charter schools in New Orleans. So this is giving us a little bit of a landscape. So again, to kind of, have the ability to look here, it's interesting, again, because of this universe, the way that we're looking at it, we're saying we care about foundations everywhere. So the 2 biggest, funders of New Orleans charter schools aren't in New Orleans. They're Gates and Walton. Again, recipients, good information here, grants, and so on. But I want to show you Constellations View. So I'm going to click on this little constellations thing. There's going to be a little bit of a descriptor here. And then we're going to have this like, whoa, what the heck is this? Okay. Basically, this is a form of network mapping. And what it's showing, consistent with the visualization pattern, the blue bubbles are foundations. The red bubbles are recipients. And they move around. So you're a consultant, you're trying to get a sense of what's the story about charter schools in New Orleans. Well, at a glance, you can see that the dominant recipient is New Schools for New Orleans, and these connections here are the folks that fund them. You can see who some of the dominant foundations are. This tabular view gives a little bit of network analysis as to what's going on and how many connections and the sub-networks and so on. So we've added some kind of sophisticated social science network algorithms and analysis, but you also just sort of, at a glance, kind of figure out what's going on here. So again, you might want to be in touch with some of the bigger players. If you're looking for potential allies for your client or for yourself as a funder, individual bubbles that aren't necessarily so connected are showing up, family foundations and so on. So again, you're kind of getting this really beautiful visual sense of what's going on. So Constellations View, again, can be used in all sorts of different ways. This one's nice because it's basically showing the universe of data that we have. There's also the ability to have it, look at broader sets or smaller, as the case may be. Let's look at another couple scenarios that are sort of use cases for consultants. So I'm going to do a little clear all. I'm going to go back to the map. And what's also happened, so basically climate change. I'm going to put climate change in. Again, this is kind of showing what's going on here. So quite a lot of information around climate change. I'm going to do, let's say that we want to, again, just kind of get the snapshot view of climate change again, kind of broader universe. Again, kind of showing us very clearly that we've got some pretty major dominant players here. But you can also, all of this stuff is a little bit mix and match. So let's say that you really care about the most major players. So you can go to your more filters, look at 500,000 and above, and again, your constellation is going to change and kind of show you who some of the key players are. So again, it's giving you, at a glance, it sort of makes the front-end searching of what's, potential allies, potential partners, people to interview, potential grantees and so on. It makes the front end go a whole lot faster because you've got all these ways to sort of visualize and see things. So you sort of, get the idea. Other things, I would just say that when it comes to playing around, do remember these filters because oftentimes when national foundations are looking at potential partners, they want to look at community foundations. So there's a way to kind of search and slice and dice by community foundation through these filters. If you're interested in these kind of type of support things, this actually came up for me when I was a philanthropic advisor that, I had clients that were interested in fellowships, for example. So again, in kind of one fell swoop, I'm going to go back to the map here. This is the universe around the world of recipients for fellowships. Again, like, crazy great information. Let's say that I care about arts fellowships. Boom. Here's my universe. Here's my list. Here's my information of folks that I want to chat with. So again, I encourage kind of playing around because there's a whole lot of capacity here. Another kind of popular use case is kind of getting a lay of the land around particular diseases, services, and research and so on. So again, autocomplete on the subject area you can put in. I had clients who did a whole lot around multiple sclerosis and other kinds of issues that affected their families. So you can find out good information quickly. Another scenario is, and let me just clear, I'm going to clear all so I don't have something funky showing up. You have a keyword search as well. So the subject area is tending to have more broadly aggregated common kinds of things, charter schools and so on and so forth. But let's say that you care about something very specific that might be a little bit newer and doesn't make, an overall taxonomy. You can put in something like social and emotional learning. And again, let's just go to the map view so we get it for a second. Take a look at the United States so that it's a little bit more clear. So something as specific as that, you can again see at a glance what's going on, where are the recipients, where are the funders, what's going on with area served, and kind of take a view by state. Again, darker the shading, the more that's happening there. So those are some scenarios that are kind of specific to consultants and often the funders that hire them. Now for the final batch of use cases, and again, be adding your questions into the chat box, and we'll come back to those in a little bit. One of the areas that I used to fund was actually around child welfare issues and foster care. So let's take a look at that. One thing I want to note when you're playing around, so let's say that I put in child welfare, and I go, it's not there. That seems weird. Why is there no data around child welfare? Well, selections need to happen in terms of words, right? So let me back out of it and go, all right, what I really care about children. So what is this giving me? Maybe I want to look at children and youth services. Maybe I can go a little bit broader. If I scroll down here, I see that there's actually foster care, which is obviously another way of saying child welfare. So I would just say, as you're playing around, if the phrase that you use doesn't exactly pull something up, explore a little bit. Let's put in foster care here. And again, we'll kind of get to this universe that we're interested in. Okay. Actually, I want to take the lens of a particular foster care agency. So one of the grantees of mine that, of our foundation was Good Shepherd Services here in New York. So I'm going to put in Good Shepherd Services. And a peer organization, another really terrific organization, was SCO Family of Services. So autocomplete, there they are. Lots of good agencies. Children's Village was another one. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting in a group of peer grant recipient organizations. I could be doing the same thing for funders. I'm going to look at Children's Aid Society as well. Okay, then I'm going to click out here so I get out of my box. And then I'm going to go straight to Constellations again, because something interesting is going to happen here. Okay, so what we were looking at before with Constellations was, a universe. I was saying a geography. I was saying a subject area. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking at 4 organizations, including the one I started with. Let's say I work for Good Shepherd Services. So from Good Shepherd's standpoint, their development staff, they're really interested. This is interesting to them because they share these funders, either 4-way or 3-way or 2-way. But from a prospecting new sources of funding standpoint, they're interested in all these blue bubbles that are funders that support a peer organization but don't support them. Similarly, who are all these organizations, all these funders here, and all of these funders here? Now, if you're, the Booth Ferris Foundation that supports these organizations, you might be more interested in, okay, here are my like-minded funders. You might be more interested in getting to the information on who's this, what's going on here. So again, Foundation Maps is understanding that there are visual learners. There are some people who, this is how they process information in the world, that they want to see kind of rich patterns that come up through charts and network maps and so on. We have other folks who are just text-heavy people, and they go straight to the lists and to each his own, and it's great, and you can kind of do all of these things. But this is, kind of a way to quickly start to think about, what patterns are there and what can we learn. I want to go to the list from here to kind of show you, again, what's going on with this. So again, everything's sortable by alphabetically, sortable by city, highest to lowest, and so on and so forth. So these are the major funders of those particular 4 organizations. Here are the 4 organizations we selected. Here are some of these, individual large grants. Again, interesting things. You're a local funder in New York, and the largest grant to this community is from the, California-based Hilton Foundation. You may not know that from the networks that you're doing locally. Let's take a look at another kind of interesting functionality. Here on the left navigation is this feature called Pathways. It's also showing up here. I tend to access it from the list area because I want to access it when there's a fair bit of information going on. So I'm going to click here and see what happens. Okay. Interesting, right? Okay, so this is another form of network mapping. We sort of affectionately call it, my screen is a little bit truncated here on my platform here, but we'll get the gist of it. If you're looking at your own screen, you wouldn't have the part cut off there. But basically, this is a little bit of a philanthropy's version of 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. So what this is saying is, in this little universe of these 4 organizations, Good Shepherd Services' top 3 funders are Clark and Tiger, 2 kinds of Clark, Ed McConnell Clark, Tiger Foundation, and the Clark Foundation. The largest grantees of these groups, of these 3 funders, are this next row of grant recipients, and then their next largest funders go on. And you can play this game where you're sort of resorting to the next batch of significant funders of Good Shepherd Services, the game begins again. You end up with different co-funders. You can keep going, right? Or you can say, you know what, Friends of the Children, I don't know this one. Let me click here and see what happens and put Friends of the Children at the top. So again, what you're seeing is, you'll often know a direct co-funder or somebody, very close into the network, but this is allowing you to go further into, who supports somebody who supports, somebody that you know, so that you can actually look at, potential allies, potential funders, and so on. So pathways and constellations are two of these kind of network mapping kinds of things. And then the last thing I want to show you is, let me just clear everything. And let me continue to be a little parochial here, and I'll do a little Brooklyn thing. And I want to load something. The first time you load demographics, it takes a little bit, but then it should go fast. So one thing that we heard from doing the user experience interviews was lots of folks wanted basic information around ethnicity and household income. So we added demographic overlays around these common things. And, you probably all have seen maps like this. And, what's great is, we can zoom in, zoom around. And what we've done is we've added this demographic overlay for the entire United States. The darker the shading, the higher the percentage is. So what's interesting here is you've got the ability to look at, here, let's hone in so we can get a better sense of what's going on. So I'm going to kind of look, Brooklyn is changing pretty rapidly these days. Okay, so I'm just scrolling around. Again, the bubbles here are groups of recipients. So one little bug that's happening, which I noticed as I was prepping for this, is the functionality is working, but the little radio button isn't showing. So software is never perfect. We'll tell our development team about it, and they'll fix it. But basically, I'm clicking here. It actually is working. This is saying more white folks live on this side of Prospect Park than on this side. If I click to black, oh, look, a higher percentage of black folks, African Americans, are on this side. Not a whole lot of Hispanics, not a whole lot of Asians, not a whole lot of Native Americans. Okay, interesting, all well and good. What's interesting to us is oftentimes the neighborhood or the area that somebody cares about from a service standpoint as a grant recipient or as a funder doesn't fit perfectly with, known indicators. So let's say that this is the part of Brooklyn that I actually care about. So I just drew a free-form shape. Okay, please work with a live demo. We'll see. Maybe not. Okay, let's try it again. What's going on is that we have the ability to define, oh, there it is. Okay, we'll just show it for now. We have the ability to define what area that we care about, and then what shows up is 1990, 2000, 2010 actual census, and 2018 projected of what's going on in that area. So think about this in terms of service catchment areas for nonprofits. Think about this in terms of, replication decisions. Think about this for data that you want to pull for reports and so on. So, again, anywhere in the United States, you can sort of draw a picture of a community you care about and then kind of figure out what's going on. So with that, let me stop there in terms of kind of official demo type things. Happy to answer any questions. I'll refer to Elizabeth for a second to let her kind of see what's going on. Let me just kind of remind you that, again, there's a free trial. This is just the MAPS landing page. Try it free. If you click on it, sorry, Oh, you know what? It doesn't, okay, because I'm a known user, it didn't let me do the free trial. It just buffed me to my subscription. But bottom line is, uh, let me just log out so you can see it again while Elizabeth's getting questions. If you click on Try It Free, it basically leads you to a little pop-up screen that asks you, 4 things, like basically give your email, and then you'll get information about the free trial. It's 24 hours plus, depending on when you sign up for it, and you can take all this for a spin. And great. So let me pause and see if there's any questions from Elizabeth, or from you all through Elizabeth.
Great. So the first question is, what is the source of the data?
Okay, great. Yeah, a popular question. So, so again, there's lots of different sources of the data. Actually, it truly is one of our frequently asked questions, so I'm just going to kind of pop this up so folks can see it. The Foundation Center is really kind of a data and research and technology kind of place. So we're gathering information every week from 990s, 990 PFs, directly from foundations themselves. We pull from websites, we pull from other public sources. We're basically getting lots of information from foundations themselves and from IRS returns, and we're normalizing, structuring, and coding that data so that it's clean and can actually be visualized and supported. So that's kind of the short version of that. We can find out if there's more questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you develop foundation maps in-house or with an outside firm?
Yeah, actually, we did it in-house. We have this incredible application development team led by our Vice President for Data and Technology Strategy, Jake Garcia. And so we're probably one of the only nonprofits that actually has geographers in-house and GIS web programmers. And it was great because we kind of could bring a lot of perspectives together, open doors to a lot of the target audiences that we work with on lots of different things, and basically have our tech folks kind of have their imaginations run wild. Actually, I wrote a blog. I'm just going to Google. Speaking of Googling myself, I'm going to Google, let's see if I can just find it. For those of you who are blog reader types, okay. Let's see. Let me find it. I actually kind of tell the story of how we developed it, which is kind of fun. So here we go. So basically, it is Philanthropic is one of our many blogs, and it's this How to Visualize Philanthropy, Listen, Improve, Repeat. And so it talks about us, sending our folks out, and how they just really started to kind of fixate on, how can we really create tools that are useful for the sector. So there you go. Any other questions?
Yeah, next question. What should I do if my foundation's data is missing?
Okay, yeah. So again, we love to have good, as rich a data set as possible and all sorts of good information. Actually, on the Foundation Maps landing page, if you go to the custom at the top, it talks about something that is a free e-reporter map. So I had said earlier that one of the ways that we get information is that foundations directly report to the Foundation Center itself. So any funder that exports grants data to us will give you a free version, simple version of your own cleaned and coded data back on the Foundation Maps platform. And so you'll have your own data that you can put on your website, or you can just use internally with board and staff. But basically, we encourage anybody who is playing around on Foundation Maps, says, wait a minute, why do you only have older data, or why do you have incomplete data? Please share, please be a part of this kind of data, better data movement. We have, we're working closely with the Forum of Regional Associations of Grant Makers and over 20 regional associations to have these kind of get on the map campaigns to add more data so everybody can see their data in context. So be in touch if you want to get on the map and you don't see your data in the platform.
And the last question is, can you create a custom map for my website?
Okay, well, yeah, so here we are. We actually, what's been great for us, and I think the field really, about investing in a platform like Foundation Maps is we're kind of building to last, or we're trying to create something so that, we and the rest of the field doesn't have to reinvent things over and over again. So we actually are able to do all sorts of highly custom projects based on this platform. So, for example, we've worked with LGBT Funders Group to create a custom data set and some custom functionality for a map that's, their membership and well beyond it. We've been working with some individual foundations who are redoing their websites, or they're doing interactive annual reports, and they want to take their free e-reporter map and actually, put their logo on it, have their colors, do a, rich wrapper. So we've been doing individual projects. And, the idea is that through, actual use cases where somebody wants to do something custom, I'm talking with somebody now who is starting to track their grants information by congressional district served, which is fascinating, right? To go to meet with your local Congress folks and show them this is where we're fighting poverty, this is what we're doing in your community. So, we'll build it once. We'll do a custom fee-based project with them to build that functionality, and rather than having it be a one-off project, we're doing it for the platform so then it can be, useful to the field going forward. So that was a long way to say yes. Custom maps, again, be in touch because there's lots of possibilities. The overall easy-to-remember email address for any questions related to Foundation Maps is just simply maps@foundationcenter.org. My personal email address, again, feel free, is LLP, my initials, LLP@foundationcenter.org. But, I think with that, we can end a little early, and I'll just say that please do, if you haven't tried the free trial, take it for a spin, give us feedback. We're just really trying to make this as robust and useful as possible, and really welcome any feedback that you can share. So, okay, with that, have a fantastic rest of the day. Thank you for joining us. And, again, if you want to share this with other colleagues, we'll post it in a few days on maps.foundationcenter.org on the webinars tab. Thanks very much. Bye.